So settle in. Here's Bob Costas, Joe Morgan, and Bob Uecker with a call at Game 1 of the 1996 ALCS.
24-year-old Andy Pettitte, Cy Young candidate with a record of 21-8, facing the lineup that launched 257 home runs in the regular season, and then 9 more in the 4-game upset of the Cleveland Indians in the division series. Brady Anderson with 50 at the top of that lineup, and he hit 12 of them beginning the game. That broke Bobby Bonds' 1973 record of 11 leadoff home runs. And he did it to Charles Nagy of the Indians in the bottom of the first at Camden Yards in Game 1 of the division series. As Bob Uecker told you, Pettitte was 3-0 this year against the Orioles. He's 5-0 lifetime in his 2 big league seasons. Anderson takes a strike. Larry Barnett is the plate umpire and crew chief. Dale Scott at first. Mike Riley at second. Dan Morrison at third. Left field line Rocky Rowe. Right field line Rich Garcia. All veteran umpires. Just off the corner, 1-1 to Anderson. The outfield is soft, but not nearly in as bad a condition as you would think after the torrential rains of last night. There was some talk that Paul O'Neill, given his sore hamstring, he's been struggling of late, wouldn't start if the conditions were treacherous. There's strike 2, but he is in right field for the Yankees against the right-hander Erickson, in part because he hits Erickson very well, and also because the conditions out there are not so bad that Joe Torre is overly concerned.
Well, that's what he said before the game, Bob. He said he walked around the outfield. It's a little damp, but it's in good playing shape.
The 1-2 pitch. Got him.
Not exactly where Pettitte wants to throw this pitch, but he had thrown 2 cut fastballs on the outside corner. Layridge sets up again on the outside corner. This is towards the outer half of the plate, but not exactly where he wanted. See, that's a cut fastball, just a beautiful pitch when it works. See where Layridge is? He has to reach back a little bit, but the speed and the movement fooled Brady Anderson.
Strike 1 to Todd Zeile, over from the Phillies. They felt they were susceptible to left-handed pitching, and in fact under 500 for the year against left-handed starters. So they picked up Zeile and Incaviglia, who's on their bench, to shore their hitting up from the right side. Pettitte looked sharp through the first 2 hitters, in contrast to the control problems he experienced last time out against Texas when he walked half a dozen. The 0-2 to Zeile. Just missed 1-2.
Al, there's that cut fastball that Joe was talking about a moment ago. If it's any indication here, Joe, in the early going, Brady Anderson saw the breaking stuff, the cutter, curveball. They're not going to let him sit on a fastball.
2-2 to Todd Zeile, who between the National and American Leagues this year hit 25 home runs and drove in 99. Bouncing ball foul. He entered the postseason, though, in a terrible slump. Just 1 for his last 30. He managed 5 hits against the Indians, 4 of them singles.
And when you look at Andy Pettitte, the reason that he has been a 21-game winner this year has been that cut fastball.
Boggs is in front of it, juggles it for a moment, but has time to retire Zeile. And the reception for Alomar. New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was widely quoted as encouraging New York fans to turn their backs and respond with silence to Alomar. Booing's okay, as long as nothing comes flying out of the stands, as has happened in the past with other visiting players here.
Bob, I was booed louder than that in my own home park. Before that, I think it was just they're trying to be nice here.
Well, let's say they're trying to be civil. I'm not so sure they're trying to be nice. Foul back, 1-2.
Try getting booed like that in your own home park. That's really tough. That's where it's really bad.
Everybody's a quipster.
It's early.
The 1-2. 2-2 to Alomar, who hit .328 this year with 22 homers and 94 RBIs. Played in the All-Star game for the 7th straight year, and yesterday was awarded his 6th consecutive Gold Glove. A called strike 3. Pettit works a perfect first, Fanning 2. No argument from Alomar, and we'll be back. '28-year-old Scott Erickson was 13-12 for the year. His ERA was over 5. The Orioles are the first team in history ever to make it to postseason with a team earned run average above 5 a game.
There you see Scott Erickson, 13-12. He was 0-2 against New York this year, but he really pitched well against the Yankees. Couple of tough losses.
In fact, toward the tail end of the regular season, he and Pettit hooked up in a great pitcher's duel here. Erickson left with the lead 2-1 after 7. Pettit worked into the 9th. They each wound up with a no decision. The Yankees won in 10, 3-2. Rain steps in with Zeal on top of him at third base, and he taps it foul.
There's that little sinking fastball I talked about at the top of the telecast, Bob. He's got a very, very good sinker. When he's right, he's going to throw a lot of ground balls. Got a very sharp slider, change of pace from time to time, but his sinker is #1. If you start to see Erickson getting in trouble, he starts to pitch upstairs.
A 1 pitch to Rains. Popped into shallow left. And now the wind is taking this ball, and it drops safely, and Rains, hustling all the way, is in at second. B.J. Surhoff in left. Either the wind blowing it back toward the infield or possibly the sun field in left. Remember, in the World Series in days gone by, they used to talk about the treacherous sun field in October in left field at Yankee Stadium. Perhaps Surhoff never saw it. Yep, never saw it.
You know, it's ironic, Bob. I was talking to him before the game about playing in left field here. He said due to the late start, the late afternoon start, it may really help. But not on this particular play. You called it perfectly. He never saw it.
But it wasn't because of the sun. The sun had nothing to do with that because he never flipped his shades down. So he just lost it.
But why?
It's amazing. I don't know. He may have lost in the crowd when it went off the bat.
Boggs with a tapper that'll advance Rains. Erickson throws him out to Palmeiro.
I think you're right. He lost it against the white shirts and stuff in the upper deck here in Yankee Stadium.
Right off the bat, Joe, as soon as the ball was hit, he threw his arms up. That's what B.J. Surhoff is looking at right there. As soon as that ball left the bat, he threw his hands up. I can't see it. I can't see it. And I'll tell you something. This guy is a pretty good player. He is a good, solid outfielder. He can play at third, and he's a very good catcher. He's a very valuable player for the Orioles.
Well, now the Yankees threatening in the bottom of the first. A fluke double for Rains. An advancing ground out by Boggs. And the hitter is Williams. Spectacular in the division series against the Rangers. 3 home runs, 2 in the 4th and final game. The infield, obviously, at this stage, will concede the run. They're back. And there's a called strike.
There are only 2 places that Bernie Williams wants to make sure he avoids. That is hitting the ball back to the pitcher and also to Zeal at third base. Those are the only 2 spots on the infield that could keep Rains from scoring.
A ball and a strike to Williams. He topped the Yankees with 29 home runs, and he drove in 102. Bouncing ball to Ripken at short. The Yankees take the lead. Williams is thrown out.
It may seem like a little thing, but that's a good job of hitting there by Bernie Williams. Your main job should be, main thought should be just to get the runner in from third, and he does that.
So now it'll be Tino Martinez, who's itching to do something in the postseason. Last year, while a Mariner, he went just 3 for 22 in the LCS against Cleveland. Didn't knock home a run in the 4 games against Texas in the first series this year. That's ball 1.
Look at Erickson against these first 3 hitters, and now the 4th, and Tino Martinez always down and away with that sinker. The ball is really biting down and away.
Fouled out of play. Erickson is 28 years old. He's 6'4" and 230. Born in California. Lives now in State Line, Nevada. He was 20-8 for the 1991 Twins. He's never won more than 13 games in any other season, and that's how many he won this year, 13 with 12 defeats. 2 balls and a strike. He pitched a no-hitter in 1994 for the Twins. You were at that game. It was against the Brewers, Hugh.
Against Milwaukee in the Metrodome, and in a game where I don't know how he could have thrown any better, Bob. There wasn't maybe 2 balls in the whole game that were hit decent against him. I mean, everything else was ground ball.
Martinez taps one back to the mound. Erickson can't find the handle at first, but recovers to toss him out. The Yankees with a gift run in the bottom of the first and a 1-0 lead in game 1. Game time temperature a beautiful 69 degrees. The sun was shining earlier, and about an hour or so ago, shining through the top of the stadium and into the eyes of the left fielder. Now the sun appears to have popped back out,
right,
but it was not out when Surhoff had difficulty with that ball.
Exactly.
3-0 to Palmeiro, leading off in the second.
You know, Bob, you talked during your opening about the classic games here in New York during World Series time, and I think that's the one thing all of us remember about this stadium, the fact that the left fielders in postseason play, and at the World Series at that time, because they didn't have the playoffs, it was a big problem in left field.
And it works on 3-1 and walks Palmeiro to start the second. This is Pettit's 3rd postseason start in his career. So in one division series start against Seattle last year. Didn't do that well, left behind against Texas a week ago in the division series this year. A no decision, though, as it turned out, both times.
Well, the Yankees came back and won that game game here in New York, game 2 of the series against Texas. But he was very wild. I mean, he pitched from behind throughout the game, walked 6 in 6+ innings of work, left trailing 4-1, and they came back and won it for him. Not for him, but he was not involved in that loss.
Switch hitter Bobby Bonilla from the right side. Usually he's the target of all the fans scorn here in the Bronx, which is ironic because he grew up only about a mile from the ballpark here in the Bronx. Frequent visitor to Yankee Stadium as a kid. His mom still works at nearby Lincoln Hospital. He went to Lehman High School in the Bronx. But after a star-crossed, shall we put it, tour of duty with the Mets, where he didn't do himself any favors, had some run-ins with the press, and didn't come through in quite the fashion the Mets hoped before he was sent off to Baltimore, he became something less than a fan favorite in New York. They really let him have it every time he comes back with the Orioles to play the Yankees. But of course now the focus is on Alomar. The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike.
And the Orioles have to be wary when they're on first base, simply because Pettit has a great pickoff move. He led the major leagues with 11, but he has a great move. Actually, sometimes I believe he balks, but he gets away with it most of the time.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. The two real threats to run for the Orioles are nearer the top of their order. Brady Anderson, who once was a 50 steal man and this year swiped 21, and Roberto Alomar had 17. But when you hit 257 home runs and play in a small ballpark like Camden Yards, you don't run all that often, especially not against the likes of Pettit. As Joe said, he picked off 11 this year, a dozen last year, which also led the league. His 1-2 pitch coming to Bonilla. A little pop-up on the infield. Pettit appears to be calling. Martinez is there along with Leyritz, and it's the catcher who makes the play. That is not the way you're supposed to do it.
No, it isn't, Bob. That's one of the plays where the catcher has got to give way. I mean, Tino Martinez was hollering and calling for that ball all the way. Leyritz, you'll watch Jimmy. He took a look at Martinez coming down. He's hollering, I got it, I got it. That's where Leyritz has really got to back off. You got to get out of there. But look at Leyritz, stick in there, and he makes the catch on what could have been a very, very crucial play.
But the problem is if Pettit goes over, he should be standing back yelling Martinez, Martinez, or yelling for Leyritz to make the catch. He shouldn't be involved in the putout. He should be standing there directing traffic.
Half Nelson and a body slam will get Leyritz out of there.
And a strike to Ripken, who, in addition to those numbers, hit into a league-leading 28 double plays. Palmeiro at first with one out in the second. 1-0 New York. For the record, the Ripken streak is at 2,316. Postseason games don't count toward it, of course. And it's ahead of Cal 0-2.
Now see, that looked like it was almost a balk, but his upper body started toward the plate.
Every time he goes over there, Joe, or makes a move toward the plate, that base runner's initial step is back toward the bag. Every guy.
Watch his upper body. See, he started home, and then he went to first base.
He brings it home, and it's inside. In addition to all the pickoffs, opposing runners don't even try. They attempted only 21 steals all year against Pettit, and were successful just 10 of those 21 times.
Well, he takes a lot of heat off the catcher, Bob. I can tell you. He really does.
Well, there's an imaginary line drawn halfway between home plate and first base. You have to step towards on the other side of that line if you throw the first base.
And Ripken rips it foul.
But every time he makes a delivery toward the plate, that runner, and in this case it's Palmeiro, his first step is back toward the bag.
Well, they're definitely guarding against a pickoff, but what you do when you have your momentum going toward first base, obviously you do not have a chance to break up a double play at second base. You do not have a good jump to go from first to third on a single. So you're right. I mean, Pettit helps himself by being able to keep the runners close at first base.
Another 1-2 pitch. And this one will make the seats. Watch again. Palmeiro stepping back toward first as Pettit makes his move to the plate.
There it is, that little half step back toward the bag. The only good thing about it, keeps you out of a double play if the guy hits a line drive.
You have to search to find a bright side like that. And Ripken spoils another one. Cal is one of 4 100 RBI men in this lineup, along with Anderson, Palmeiro, and Bonilla. Throw in Zeal, who had 99 combined between the Phillies and Orioles, and Alomar, who knocked home 94. It's potent. A line drive into left center field, and this ball will get down and into the gap. Around second is Palmeiro. Williams gets it back in. Palmeiro stops at third on the double by Ripken. Second and third, one out.
Well, he got 2 strikes on Ripken. This looks like a cutter that he tried to get inside. He missed with one inside earlier. Now let's see where this pitch ends up. Gets right into the middle of the plate, and it was a cutter, but it was in the middle of the plate, and they find the gap. Finds the gap in left center field. Nice play by Bernie Williams to cut it off and hold Palmeiro at third base and Ripken at second.
Thank goodness for the rain yesterday. It may have slowed that ball down when it took its initial hop in the outfield. It did slow down.
And now one of the great professional RBI men in an RBI spot, Eddie Murray, who cuts and misses. For his career, Murray has hit Pettit well, which really only means the last 2 years since Pettit came into the league. At this point, Eddie Murray has a little bit of trouble getting around on a really good fastball. He's a slider speed hitter. But if you leave one out over the plate, he can still crush it.
I'll tell you what, if he's looking fastball, and he does, he's such a situation hitter now. If he goes up there and he's looking fastball, I don't care how hard you throw, he's going to hit it, Bob. He will. If you make a mistake, he'll hit it.
Palmeiro at third, Ripken after the double at second. The 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. B.J. Surhoff on deck.
The problem is Surhoff has hit Pettit well also, and so you're not going to just automatically walk Eddie Murray. You're going to try to get him off.
Two and two. Murray's lifetime home run total now at 501. Came back to Baltimore in time to reach the 500 plateau in the uniform where his career began. Pettit's 2-2 pitch. Rolled slowly to short. The game will be tied. Jeter on the run, throws Murray out. Ripken moving up to third with 2 down.
Murray gets the job done by hitting a ground ball to shortstop. Ripken moved over, took a chance. As the ball's hit a little sharper, Jeter would have had a play on him at third, but that's what Eddie Murray does best. He gets runners in from second, third, wherever they are. He's a great RBI man.
And now Surhoff with a chance to atone for the misplay in left. He couldn't find the little fly ball off the bat of Raines, first hitter in the Yankee first. It dropped for a double, led to the New York run. The Orioles have tied it, and a Surhoff base hit could give them the lead. He was born in the Bronx, grew up in Rye, New York, a bit north of the city. His father, Dick Surhoff, played pro basketball with the Knicks, teammate of Al McGuire's. (2-0). In fact, a check of the record books by our Elliot Kalb reveals that Dick Surhoff played 3 minutes in the NBA Finals of 1953 when the Knicks lost to George Mikan and the Minneapolis Lakers. The 2-0 pitch with 2 out and Ripken at third. Hit toward the hole. Duncan to his left from the outfield grass. Throws him out. The Orioles tie it, but leave Ripken at third. Even at 1, middle of the second. On to the bottom of the second at Yankee Stadium. Orioles and Yankees tied at 1 apiece. Cecil Fielder, Paul O'Neill, and Mariano Duncan against Scott Erickson. Fielder hit 39 homers for the year, 13 of them after coming to the Yankees from Detroit, and had some key hits in the division series against Texas, including a solo home run.
Bob, but I think the biggest hits in that entire series were by Cecil Fielder, and they were not home runs. a single to right field in game 2 that tied the score, and they ultimately run in extra innings. If they'd have gone down 2-0, they would have been in real trouble going to Texas. And then the game winner in game 4 in the 8th inning in Texas was also a single.
2-0 pitch is in there.
So a guy that's known for home runs can also cut down his swing when he needs a single to drive in a run in big situations.
The sun, which at this time of the day can be coming from those stands behind first base into the eyes of the left fielder, keeps popping in and out from behind the clouds. On that pitch, the sun was out. A pitch before, it was not. That's what the left fielder is sometimes looking into. Dangerous pitch for Erickson on 3-1 to Fielder. And he walks him to start the second. We're back here tomorrow afternoon. We're on the air at 3 Eastern time for game 2. And it bears repeating. There is nothing not to like about afternoon October baseball. If the Lords of Baseball really wanted to recapture the feeling of the Fall Classic, they'd play a couple of afternoon games in the World Series, one in each city. O'Neill steps in. We're not holding our breath waiting for that development, but it would be a good thing.
I think it was the one thing that I remembered, Bob. You were talking about it earlier. I mean, when you go back to pre-postseason play, just talking about the World Series, that was it. I mean, you look forward to it every day, and especially on Saturdays. You know, it was the biggest viewing day of the World Series.
Plus those days, and this day is going to be a little bit like it in New York and in Baltimore, where kids are looking to race home from the bus stop early, maybe bring a radio to school, maybe the teacher lets them follow the game on television, in the classroom, around offices. Word of the progress of the game is buzzing about. A chopper to the right side. Alomar gets a glove on it but can't control it. Now he flips to first, but not in time, and the Yankees have 2 on with nobody out. It'll be ruled an infield hit for Paul O'Neill. Alomar knew he had a chance at him because O'Neill is really struggling to get down the first base line with that bad hamstring.
That's a nice play by Alomar. It hits off the heel of his glove. He actually overran the ball a little bit. He thought it was going to go through a lot quicker. Tries to struggle to get it back to first base, but not in time. So he gets a good jump right there, but it goes off the heel of his glove.
Joe, I think this is a gift base hit. I think if Alomar catches that ball, he throws O'Neill out by plenty. I think it was a gift base hit. That's a play that Alomar should make.
Fielder at second. O'Neill at first. 1-1 game in the bottom of the second. Duncan the hitter with Leyritz on deck. Is this a bunt situation, Joe?
Well, it was during the season late in the ball game. I don't think so right now.
Zeal and Palmeiro inching in. He swings away, hits it to Alomar. Tough hop, but he flips to Ripken. Palmeiro pulled off the bag, though, by Cal's throw. And there's a huge break for the Yankees.
And that was a fine play by Alomar. That ball jumped up high into his chest. He fielded it, but he didn't take any time to get it over to Ripken. He backhanded the ball. Now watch it leaps up into his chest. He blocks it with his chest. Now look at the backhand throw while he's coming down. Perfect throw. Ripken had plenty of time. He just makes a bad throw to first base, and you can see he pulls Palmeiro off the bag. He goes back, but not in time. Good hustle there by Duncan. And you'll see Palmeiro. He comes off the bag. Now watch, he'll try to go back, but by the time he gets back, you see Duncan is across the bag.
Well, and Scott Erickson here has done his job. He's throwing the ground balls. The one by Alomar that he bobbled, and now the bad throw by Ripken on what should have been a double play ball.
So now Leyritz rolling it foul. Meanwhile, the previous ball hit by O'Neill has been changed from a hit to an error.
Yeah, that was a ball that Alomar should have handled, I thought.
That's a tough error, though, I think.
I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's a play that Alomar should make. He's got great range, and I mean, in watching this guy day after day, it's a play that he should have made, Bob. And had he caught the ball, he throws O'Neill out by 5 steps.
So the Gold Glove winner is first charged with an error, then makes an excellent play on a tough hop to start what should have been a double play, but Ripken's throw pulls Palmeiro off the bag. So the Yankees have runners at first and third with 1 out. Erickson is always among the league leaders in inducing hitters to ground into double plays because of that excellent sinker. He could use one here. Zeal can't control it. Picks it up and throws to first in time for the out, but there was a double play ball. 2 in a row, in effect, thrown by Erickson, and his defense betrays him.
Well, one thing to remember, the Orioles were not that good a defensive team the entire year. The Yankees were second only to Texas. And you see Zeal, he has the ball go off of his glove. He charged the ball, but he was trying to get in position to throw to second base, and the ball did take a pretty good hop. The one thing that happens when you have a pitcher like Erickson, you get a lot of overspin on the ball because you're hitting the top of it. So you get funny hops. That's what we saw on the ball that was hit to Alomar that bounced up into his chest. A lot of overspin on a good sinker coming off the hand of Erickson.
So instead of being out of the inning, Erickson trails again 2-1, and Leyritz gets an RBI on the ground out. Derek Jeter hitting 9th in the Yankee order. Takes strike 1. He hit .314 with 10 home runs. Hit leadoff part of the time, as low as 9th on other occasions. A lock for the American League Rookie of the Year. The Yankees haven't hit anything particularly hard, but they have a run across in this inning. A walk to Fielder. Error at second by the Gold Glover Alomar. A ground out by Duncan that could have been a double play, but was just a force. Another ground out by Leyritz, where they could have turned 2, but had to settle for just the out at first.
I know this has happened to Joe Morgan probably 1,000 times. That in-between hop, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's almost like a catcher taking a 59-foot breaking ball. You got to try and block it with your body, hope you knock it down and keep it in front of you, where you're able to make a play on at least one runner. But they're tough to handle.
1-2 pitch. Ripken to his right. Long throw, tough play, and Jeter beats it out. Hit slowly, Jeter runs well. Ripken had to get rid of it quickly, and his throw bounced. And Palmeiro wisely comes off the bag to block it rather than risk it getting away and a run scoring.
Here's another tough play. Good pitch by Erickson. He's doing the job. He's throwing the ground balls. This one's hit to the hole. Ripken makes the play, then slips a little bit. Gets off a big sidearm throw. Not much on the throw. He didn't really get much on the throw. Jeter runs good. The throw was a one-hopper to Palmeiro. He blocked it. Jeter beats it. Here it is again. Look at Ripken slide a little bit. I don't know if he'd have been better off making a backhanded play, then coming up firing with some momentum. And again, Jeter runs well. Ripken saying to himself, hey, I don't have that much time. I'm going to try and make it quick.
So now Raines, who doubled and scored his first time. Raines had the pop fly double leading off the game against Erickson. Since then, every hitter who's put the ball in play has hit it on the ground. Erickson is not new to the postseason. He had 1 start in the LCS for the Twins against Toronto in '91, and 2 starts for the Twins against Atlanta that year in the World Series. A no decision all 3 times. 1-1.
He's one of those guys. He just doesn't give in to you. He works that sinker off the outside corner. Left-handed batter. He tries to stay down and away on you and tries to get you to pull it.
Duncan at third. Jeter at first. A run home in the second and a 2-1 New York lead.
Be interesting to see here if Torrey would run Jeter in this situation. He's got range to lead off in case they throw him out. That's what Joe said he wants to do. They want to run. They're not going to do anything unusual. They're going to stay with their game plan.
In the air to left center field. Surhoff sees it and has it. The Yankees score a run. They leave 2 and after 2. New York 2, Baltimore 1. So Pettit takes a 2-1 lead to the third. Mark Parent, the veteran catcher, takes a strike. Each team using, in effect, a personal catcher for its pitcher. Today, Leyritz usually starts only when Pettit works, and Parent usually catches Erickson and Erickson only.
It was interesting in talking with Joe Torre about that situation, Bob. He said he doesn't particularly like it because of the fact that if your catcher is hurt, your personal catcher is hurt, you might have that thing in the back of your mind that you can't work to another catcher. Good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know if it works or not. It gives each of these guys a chance to play probably more often than they would. You know, Hoyles is still #1 with Baltimore, and Girardi is still #1 with the Yankees.
Not a big difference in those numbers right there.
Not percentage-wise.
But what happened was last year he was struggling. Pettit was struggling with Mike Stanley. Leyritz caught him a couple of ball games and they won, and they were thinking alike on the same, in the 2-1 counts. They had the same pitch in mind, etc. So he had confidence in Leyritz, and that's how it started. And also, they're not pals off the field. They don't hang around together or anything like that. It's just that they think alike when they're in the middle of the diamond, and that's why they have him as his personal catcher. But also watch throughout the ball game, very rarely will you see Pettit shake Leyritz off. He said maybe once or twice the entire ball game.
The 2-2 pitch. Parent has occasional power. Ripken making the play. Parent had 9 home runs, including the homer that broke the record of the M&M boys, the 1961 Yankees, who had 240 home runs. Parent got number 241 against the Tigers. Orioles went on to hit 257. Boggs picks it up, throws across, and got him.
Maybe all these guys' hands are a little stiff today. I mean, ball's bouncing off of everything. Let's take a look at this. You have to have soft hands when you get an in-between hop. Wade doesn't give with that. He kind of sticks his glove out and he blocks it, but that's okay because he knows he has a catcher running, so he has plenty of time to throw him out. But on a backhand stop, you have to give a little bit with the ball, and in that particular play, he didn't.
Most of these hops today, Joe, early here, seem to be those in-between jobs.
Yeah. Talking about the Oriole record of 257. And the Mariners and A's also exceeded the 61 Yankees total of 240. Taking nothing away from that, this is, of course, now a DH league. The Yankees didn't have the DH.
And they didn't have this live of baseball either that they're playing with.
Brady Anderson with a drive to right, and O'Neill can just turn and watch it leave. Well, Maris or Mantle would have been proud of that one. It's his 3rd of the postseason. The fans in the bleachers throw it back. But he crosses to tie it again at 2.
And it's a hanging breaking ball. And Brady Anderson has hit a lot of home runs off of hanging breaking balls this year. You see the target and watch where the pitch is. It's up, and it's that cut fastball right out over the middle of the plate, and he knows right away that he's hit it out of the ballpark. Take a look at the pitch. You see Leyritz is set outside. That pitch is right out over the middle.
Zeal with a chopper to short, and Derek Jeter throws him out for the 2nd out in the 3rd. And now Alomar again. As long as it's this and only this, some lusty booing, well, that's fine. Struck out looking in the first. Committed an error a bit later in the field. Brady Anderson, who hit 50 for the year, and now 3 in the postseason, has tied it here in the third.
And Bob, I have to commend the New York writers for their stance in this situation. They basically say it's okay to boo, but don't be throwing things. And as we all know, sometimes writers can incite the fans, but they did a good job, I think, of trying to keep anything from happening other than booing.
The 1-1 pitch. Popped into shallow right. O'Neill in and toward the line to make the catch. Anderson's homer ties it, and after 2.5, even up at 2. Full house, of course, at Yankee Stadium, with the game starting a little bit after 4 o'clock Eastern time. All the kids should be home from school. Chance to follow the ball game on a perfect October afternoon in the Bronx. Andy Pettitte locked up in a 2-2 tie with Scott Erickson as we move to the 4th. And Rafael Palmeiro starts it for Baltimore with a long drive to right. O'Neill back to the track, and this one will leave the yard. Palmeiro, who hit 39 in each of the last 2 seasons, hits one into the lower stands in right to start the 4th, and the Orioles take a 3-2 lead.
Well, in the past, they have stayed away from Palmeiro. They stayed away from his first time up. Now they try to come inside. You cannot pitch him inside. He has some of the quickest hands in all of baseball. And any ball inside, I mean, he can get the bat through. Watch this pitch. It's supposed to be inside. Look at that. He just turns on it. You cannot pitch him inside and expect to get him out.
Both of the home runs on first pitches. Anderson hit that cut slider or cut fastball, and it looked like the same kind of a pitch there to Palmeiro.
Bonilla blasts one deep but foul.
Let's take a look at this pitch there. Again, they were trying to come inside. You see the target by Leyritz is inside, but Palmeiro turns on it. It is right on the inside corner, and you can see how quick his hands are. He gets right through it, opens his hips, gets his hips out of the way, and then he just rips it to right field for a home run.
Now Pettitte back to work, and a ball and a strike to Bonilla. You look at Palmeiro's numbers: 39 homers, 142 RBIs. In most seasons, that'll get you the MVP award, and he isn't, for the most part, even in the conversation. Rolled to Jeter, and there's the first out in the top of the 4th. Alex Rodriguez, Albert Bell, Mo Vaughn, Juan Gonzalez, they're all mentioned before you hear Palmeiro's name.
Let's take one more look and see exactly where this pitch was. Now, see the target right there? Let's see if he hits the glove. He's almost going to hit the glove. That ball, I mean, again, it was belt high. Now, watch, it's about belt high, but you see the target's inside. That's where he wanted it. They were trying to set him up inside so they could go away, but he didn't give him the opportunity to set him up.
Right out.
Ripken doubled to left center his first time up, a called strike. During the year, Andy Pettitte gave up only 1 home run to a left-handed hitter. 2 homers today, each by a lefty, and 2 of the best, Brady Anderson and Rafael Palmeiro. Oh, 2. I don't know how much of this is coincidence, but Pettitte is 11-1 with an ERA of 2.67 in day games. He's 10-7 with an ERA 2 runs higher, 4.66 at night. There it is. And he fans Ripken.
Throwing breaking balls like that, I don't think it matters much whether you're pitching daytime or nighttime. That was a heck of a breaking ball, down low and inside, and Ripken went after it.
Eddie Murray lifts one to left. Rain started in, now goes back. Almost to the track, but not quite, to put it away. The Palmeiro homer puts Pettit behind 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Rafael Palmeiro, who has walked and homered, takes a strike as we move to the sixth. This guy has one of the most fluid, classic swings you'll find anywhere in baseball.
A lot of people in Texas are still talking about it. I know that. There's a lot of people in Texas, Bob, that were really upset when Palmeiro left the Rangers. You're right. He's got a great swing. He's a good first baseman, too. And, of course, with power, we've seen that.
With the Cubs before the Rangers and now in Baltimore, fouled out a play 1-2.
You know, he's one of those guys against left-handed pitching, not because he hit the home run here today, but he hangs in there pretty well against left-handed pitching. You're going to fool him from time to time down and away like you do everybody else. But I'll tell you what, left-handers make mistakes on him inside to the middle. He hurts you.
2-2. Led the team with a club record 142 RBIs. When you throw out Mark Parent, who's batting ninth, who's a part-time player, the lowest RBI total in the entire lineup is Eddie Murray's 79. The leadoff man has 50 home runs.
Yeah, this is a tough lineup to work through. I don't care who you are and how hard you throw or what you have or what you do. This is a very, very tough lineup.
Payoff pitch. And we'll do it again.
You pitch from behind on these guys, Bob, as he is now on Palmeiro. You don't want to walk him, but you pitch from behind, and if he can sit on a fastball, left-hander, right-hander, he stays up there. And as you said, he got a nice, easy swing, and the ball jumps off.
And he draws a walk to start the sixth. The second time Pettit has walked him today, and the one time he didn't, he regretted it. A first pitch home run. That's not a stopwatch, that's a pitch counter. Keeping track of how many pitches Pettit has thrown as we move into the sixth inning. And that total would be 85 as of right now. Bonilla's 0 for 2. He said the turning point of his season came when the Orioles got Eddie Murray back. Murray became the DH, and Bonilla knew that he would play in the outfield and leave behind what for him was the dreaded DH role. And the numbers back him up. As a DH, he hit just .221 with 2 homers in 163 at-bats. But when playing the outfield, look at that, .304 with 25 homers.
DH role is certainly a great role for certain players. But there are those guys who are young enough and want to play defense. I think it takes away from you. I really do. It doesn't keep you in the game. I think in Bonilla's case too, Bob, he was mad. He was angry all the time. Every time he came to the ballpark, every day he came to the ballpark, he was mad because he knew he was going to be the DH. Once you get yourself in the lineup where you're going to play defensively, it's a whole new story. It's a whole different story.
On the other hand, it's one thing to have your preferences. It's another thing to be mad. When you're a big league ball player, you make good money, you're on a good team. Wraps it foul, and it holds at 0-2.
He's not the only guy that doesn't like the DH role and
I understand that.
himself.
But you know what I'm saying,
too. Oh, yeah, I understand
and
that.
It's not just Bobby. It's lots of guys.
A lot of guys.
They make a quantum leap from mild annoyance to extreme anger and discontent.
Well, whatever that means, yes.
There you go. It's the way I'm beginning to feel up here. Here's the pitch. 1-2. Extreme discontent. It hasn't been entirely smooth sailing for Davey Johnson in his first year as the Orioles manager. Cal Ripken wasn't thrilled about a few games at third. Randy Myers wasn't thrilled about not always being the closer 100% of the time. Bonilla didn't like the DH. At mid-season, they were 12.5 back. In fact, they were a game under 500 on July 31st. And there was talk of deals that would have sent David Wells away and maybe this guy Bonilla.
Hey, even B.J. Surhoff got involved in some of that stuff over there. He thought he was going there strictly to play third base.
Then when they got Zeal, Surhoff became a sometime DH and sometime left fielder. Bonilla lays off, and it's 2-2. In fact, the way the story goes, Joe, At midseason, Pat Gillick, the highly respected GM, was ready to make some deals involving veteran players. And Peter Angelos, the owner, stepped in and said, wait a minute, we still got a shot at the wild card. We're one of the richest teams in baseball. We sell out every game. I don't want to gut this team. The 2-2 pitch. Tries to wait on the off-speed pitch and skies one to left. Raines is there for out number 1.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you guys a little bit in that sometimes the player does know what's best. And I mean that because Bobby Bonilla knows what's best for him to help the team in playing, and I think it's proven that he was right by when they put him back as in the field, he actually performed better for the team.
3 runs, 4 hits, and an error for Baltimore. 2-4-0 for New York. Top of the 6th. And Ripken will have to shake that one off. Could read his lips. Ow.
Well, that cut fastball is down and in, and he hits it right off the ground. It actually gets his foot in the ground about the same time. But you can tell that it does annoy you to get hit off the foot.
Did that hit him in the knee, Joe, again?
No, that hit the foot. That was the foot.
Hate that.
The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. Only 3 players played in every one of their team's games this year. Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell of Houston, and of course Ripken, keeping the streak alive with just 2 innings the last day of the year after the wild card was clinched in Toronto. 23-16 going back to 1982. Told us the other day that when he first came up as the Rookie of the Year in '82, the race in the AL East, it was just divisional play, no wild card, then goes to the final day against Milwaukee. The next year they win the division. They win the World Series against Philadelphia. He said, hey, I thought it would be like this every year. It's been 13 years between postseason appearances. Here he is again. And it's 2-1 pitch. Hit to the hole and through. Ripken's second hit of the day. 2 on with 1 out for Baltimore as Palmeiro stops at second.
Well, if you're going to throw that cutter, you can't leave it out over the plate against these right-handed hitters. And watch Ripken reaches out to get this ball. See, it's over the middle of the plate, and he rips it in the hole for a base hit. Well, see, he's having fun. That's the way it's supposed to be.
The one thing that amazes me about Ripken, Joe, through this whole streak, the fact that I know he's hit balls off of his foot and off of his instep and his knee and what have you.
Eddie Murray taking a ball.
But how many guys have you seen get hit like that and it puts them out of commission? I mean, Pat Listash, good illustration, a guy who was traded here and they found he had a broken bone after fouling a ball off his foot the night before the trade. But here's a guy that's done it time and time again and has maintained that unbelievable streak.
2-0 to Murray. Well, for perspective's sake, the longest current streak other than Cal's is Biggio's 219. The longest streak anybody had during Cal's was an overlap, one of the longest of all time. Steve Garvey, 1,207. That was underway before Cal broke into the major leagues and ended when Garvey broke his thumb in the early 80s. Rolled foul, 2-1. And the longest streak anybody has had since Cal's began was Jeff Conine of Florida with just over 300 straight. So no one else is even close. This is in the stratosphere compared to everybody else.
I tell you, Bob, a couple of years ago, Jesse Orozco was pitching for Milwaukee, and he hit Ripken in the foot with a pitch that took him out of the game. And I thought to myself there was no way he'd be able to come back the next day. But he was there. He took infield, did everything.
Murray's 0 for 2. And Pettit works on 2-1. Misses inside. 3 balls and a strike to the Oriole DH. B.J. Surhoff next.
Let's take a look at these pitches that are just off the plate inside to these right-handed hitters. And you see Leyritz is set up inside, and that ball is just off the plate inside. He's missing by about 3 or 4 inches, and that's causing him a problem here.
And now, with the walk, the bases are loaded. Well, in the 5th, The Orioles threatened to put some distance between themselves and the Yankees, but they couldn't add to their 3-2 lead as Pettit stranded a couple. Now, with 2 walks and a Ripken single thrown in, Stottlemyre comes racing to the mound.
David Weathers getting up in the New York bullpen. Pettit in his opening assignment against Texas, Bob, 6+ innings. He walked 6 in that game and left trailing by a score of 4-1, only to have the Yankees come back and win for him. Not for him, but come back and win the game.
Sorhoff 8 for 13 with the bases loaded this year. Swings on the first one and fouls it off.
And one of the reasons that he has hit so well against Pettit is because Pettit keeps that ball out over the plate away from him. BJ likes that ball out there. You have to come inside and keep him honest every once in a while. Like that.
A ball and a strike. Sorhoff is 0 for 2. Duncan made a nice play on him from the outfield grass and right his first time up. And then Martinez made a brilliant play, robbing him of a double with a dive at first base in the 5th. 2 balls and a strike. Palmeiro at third. He opened with a walk. After Bonilla flied out, Ripken, who's now at second, singled to left. Then Murray followed with a walk to load the bases. 2-1 pitch to Sorhoff. In the air to center field. Should be deep enough to score a run. Palmeiro tags. Williams does not have a great arm. His throw is to third. Palmeiro scores. 4-2 Baltimore.
Well, Sorhoff gets the job done because you definitely want to make sure you give yourself one more run, kind of an insurance run. A base hit, of course, is what he was trying to get, but the Orioles will settle for the fly ball. You see, they congratulate him for getting the job done.
Now, Pettit has walked 4 in this game, and 2 have scored now. 2 of the 4 walks have scored. Both have been Palmeiro.
Now Parent grounded out and singled. Palmeiro has scored 2 runs after walking, and he homered earlier, so he has 3 runs scored and an RBI. The other run on a solo homer by Brady Anderson. With all the great first basemen in the game, Palmeiro doesn't even make the All-Star team every year, but every year he's hitting 300, hitting 30 or so home runs. The last 2 years, 39 each time, around 100 RBIs. This ball's hit right on the nose, but Bernie Williams is right there. The Orioles get 1, they leave 2. Yanks come up in the 6th, down 4-2. Andy Pettit hardly thrilled with what's transpired thus far, but his team is still in the game as we move to the bottom of the 7th. And Tim Raines starts it against Erickson. In early August, Scott Erickson had a record of 5-10, and his ERA was about 5.5. Since then, he's lowered the ERA about a half run. Still doesn't look all that pretty at 5.02. But considering where he started from, and considering that he winds up 13-12, so from that point, he went 8-2 to close the season. His season's figures don't really reflect the kind of pitcher he is at this moment. And he's been very effective here this afternoon. As we mentioned earlier, in case you're just joining us, had he had better defense behind him, he might be working on a shutout right now. Raines lifts one to right, and Bonilla scarcely has to move. Speaking of Bonilla, let's go back to the last out in the top of the 7th. He swings at this 3-0 pitch.
Bob, if you're going to swing 3-0, you want a pitch right in there that you can drive. He ends up swinging at one low and away that he can't really drive. Otherwise, you should take this pitch. Watch where the pitch ends up, down and away. You can't do anything with that other than what he did, pop it up. But if you get that ball in the middle of the plate, he can drive it. Take a look at this pitch. See how he reaches for it. I mean, if you're going to swing 3-0, you have to get a pitch you can handle and hammer someplace. But when you let a free swinger swing 3-0, that's what you get sometimes.
So now Boggs 0 for 3 today, 1 for 15 in the postseason. And doing it all through clenched teeth with that troublesome back.
I have never seen Wade Boggs swing the bat as poorly as he has, this last 2 series. He's a great hitter.
I agree with what you said earlier, Joe. I mean, when you get to a certain point, pain-wise, where you're not helping anybody, you're hurting your club by keeping yourself in the lineup. It gets to that point where you got to say, I don't think I can go today.
On 4 pitches, he draws a walk. That's his first walk of the postseason, which also is uncharacteristic. Usually, he mixes 100 or so walks in during the season, so he has a very high on-base percentage to go with the 300-plus average.
Now, this is all Joe Torre can ask. I mean, every time you get somebody on, you get the tie and run up there, Bob, and that's all you can ask for against Erickson. He's pitched a heck of a game tonight. You can't take it away from him.
You have the sense with the way Erickson has pitched, and with the 2 home runs by the Orioles, Anderson and Palmeiro, and with all the base runners the Orioles have had the last few innings, that they've dominated the game. But again, the Yankees put the tying run at the plate with only 1 out. And there's a strike to Williams.
Unless this guy makes a terrible mistake against Bernie Williams, I mean, he can drive the ball the other way. He can hit you out left field as a left-handed batter or to the right side as a right-handed batter. We've seen him do that. But unless this guy makes a terrible mistake against him, he's going to try to make him hit a ground ball.
As you see, a disproportionate number of Williams homers were hit right-handed. Tap foul, including 2 of the 3 he hit in the division series. When you consider on average a switch hitter will get about 1/3 of his at-bats from the right side, if that, and that Williams hits 16 of his 29 homers right-handed. Yeah, he is, like a lot of natural right-handers, he throws right-handed, a more powerful hitter from that side.
I talked to him before the game about that, and he said basically if he gets a lot of at-bats from the left side in a row, he feels just as comfortable from the left side.
Erickson's 0-2 pitch. Hit well to right. Bonilla back. Bonilla leaping. And did he hold on? The ball comes out. The ball comes out. And the Yankees are going to have runners at second and third, provided Boggs gets there, which he barely does. Bonilla with a great effort. Nearly a terrific catch, but crashing into the wall, the ball is jarred free.
I mean, that is a great catch, but you see he caught it down toward the palm. If he would have caught it in the web, it would have stayed. Now watch where this ball hits. Hits right in the middle of the glove, and that's the worst place to hit a guy. Watch, right there in the middle. See, he can't close his glove around it. He hits the wall, and it bounces away, and no one knows what to do because it looked like he made the catch.
And Williams almost catches up with Boggs, who had to wait between first and second to see if Bonilla caught it. And then Boggs was barely able to beat the throw into third.
Bernie Williams for a moment thought he caught that ball, Bob, and as he went around the bag, once he realized and once he saw the ball drop, that's when he really lit out for second and pulled up very quickly because Boggs was just turning the bag. Going to be all for Erickson here.
In comes Orozco.
Watch this bizarre play. Bernie Williams hits a line drive. He doesn't get it up high enough. It appears that Bobby Bonilla makes the catch, but Bernie Williams is not sure. Now he knows that it's a hit, but he can't run past Boggs. But the bench is where all the excitement is. Now watch, they get up, they think it's gone, they see it's not gone. Watch Paul O'Neill right here. He says he caught it, and then Cecil Fielder says no, and he's the only one that's right.
And Orozco comes on in relief of Erickson to face Martinez, who is 2 for 14 lifetime against the veteran left-hander. They check at third, and Dan Morrison said no, he didn't go around, ball 1.
Well, if you're the Yankees, you just have to hope that Martinez can at least get the runner in from third. You would hate to have this rally die. So you will not be upset if he pulls a ground ball to the right side.
Another guy talking about Orozco, who's going to try to make you hit a breaking ball, too, as a left-handed hitter.
And a called strike. Orozco is 39 years old. This postseason loaded with ancient relievers. Honeycutt, Eckersley, Orozco, past the Gatorade and the Geritol. A decade worth of Octobers ago, across town at Shea, Orozco involved in so many great moments for a terrific Met team. His 1-1 pitch to Martinez is cut on and missed.
And Orozco is very tough on the left-handed hitter. They've hit .216 against him for the season. And the thing that makes him tough is watching. Well, he sidearms the ball. You don't really get a good look at it. You can't pick the ball up. And you see the breaking ball and you go after it, but it just keeps diving out of the strike zone. And watch Orozco's motion. See, he has the ball and then he kind of sidearms it. Very tough on a left-handed hitter.
And Martinez stays alive against Cleveland. Orozco had a disastrous outing. Couldn't find his control. Walked 3, hit a man. Pitched an inning, giving up 4 runs. Took the only loss that Baltimore absorbed in the 4 games against Cleveland.
But he came in the next time he pitched, and he did a great job. So, I mean, that's what you want. That's why he's a veteran. That's why you want veterans in divisional play, because if they make mistakes, you give them the next chance, and they usually perform better.
Davey Johnson said overall this guy's been his most solid pitcher out of the bullpen this year.
Once his closer with the Mets, now a situational guy in Baltimore. Fouled back again.
Well, he got away with a breaking ball there. He hung one finally on Martinez, had to cut and fouled it back, but Jesse knew he got away with one that time. One more time, take a look at this breaking ball. He stayed down and away from Martinez. Check this one. That's a hanging breaking ball about belt high right down the middle. Got away with it. Ooh.
There are times you go to the plate in certain situations you have to put the ball in play. This is one of those situations.
Another 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Bottom of the 7th. Boggs at 3rd. Williams at 2nd. 1 out. The count 2-2 to Tino Martinez. And Baltimore trying to protect a 4-2 lead. Orozco in relief of Erickson, who was very effective. But with a base hit, all of Erickson's good work could be erased. Struck him out.
Great job there by Orozco. Well, we'll take a look. It's another breaking ball. It starts in the strike zone, which is what you want, and then it breaks out. See, it's a strike until he starts to swing, and it breaks out of the strike zone. Nice pitch here by Orozco. Again, it's difficult to pick him up, but there are times, again, you have to put the ball in play, and Tino did not do that. Well, you got Cecil Fielder up. I don't think they're going to walk him, personally.
Well, it would put the lead run on, and Parent is holding the arm out. Paul O'Neill, a left-handed batter, is due next.
Well, I think it tells you, Bob, how much confidence Davey Johnson has in this guy, really. I mean, he's got O'Neill coming up next, and unless Joe Torre does something drastic, that's who Orozco is going to face.
Well, there are tough decisions to be made as a manager, and I think this is a tough one coming up for Joe Torre right here. Do you let Paul O'Neill hit against Orozco? If it's me, I say no, but I'm not the manager.
And O'Neill is going back, and here comes Charlie Hayes.
I think you have to do that.
Absolutely.
The numbers plus the circumstances support Torre. Even though O'Neill made a bid for a home run flying out deep to the opposite field his last time up, he's 0 for 3 today. He's 2 for 18 in the postseason. He's playing with a very bad hamstring, and he's 0 for 9 lifetime against Jesse Orozco.
Actually, it wasn't that tough a decision, was it?
No. And either that, Joe, or you force Davey Johnson to make a change and bring in a right-hander. He's got somebody ready. But if he's nothing for 9 against Orozco, you got to like Orozco's chances here.
Well, not only that, you cannot let the other manager dictate everything that happens on the field. You cannot let the other manager box you into a corner, and that's what he would have done had he let Paul O'Neill hit. At least by doing this, he manages himself out of a corner. He puts it back on Davey Johnson. He makes him have to make a decision.
And the decision is that Orozco is going to pitch to Hayes. The very hard-throwing Armando Benitez is getting ready in the Baltimore bullpen. And maybe Davey was just trying to prolong it to give Benitez a little more time.
I think this is the move. I really do. I mean, you can say what you want about 0-9 left-hander against right-hander. If this is the way Davey Johnson has done it, it's got to be Armando Benitez. This is another guy that's done a great job for him in the later going.
Well, I'm not so sure he's going to make the move, and I'll tell you why. The reason is when Benitez comes in, there's no guarantee that he can throw a strike in this situation. I think that he's going, if he comes in, you have to watch for him falling behind. And
well, he can be wild. And the last pitch he threw with the bases loaded, Albert Bell jacked out of the park for a grand slam. We'll be back. Armando Benitez in the 8th to Jim Leyritz, who swings and misses. Changes. Tony Tarasco is in right field and Mike Devereaux is in left defensively for the Orioles.
You know, Bob, I've been talking about this ballpark, and no matter how many times you come in here as a broadcaster, it's always great. I mean, this is a great setting most of the time, and especially in postseason play. But I'll tell you something. When you walk out of the dugout as a player and your first time in this ballpark, it's a little extra special. It
You're
really
right.
is. I go back to the, excuse me, Bob, go back to the '64 World Series with the Cardinals before they made all the changes here when Yankee Stadium was in its originality. And to walk out of that dugout and take a look around this place, I mean, it's scary your first time in here.
2-2 to Leyritz. There's a possibility, at least, that 32 years later, the Yankees and Cardinals could reprise their World Series matchup of 1964. Jeter next, and then Raines. And the 2-2 pitch is a called strike 3. So Benitez has faced 3 hitters, walked Strawberry with the bases loaded, then fanned Duncan to end the inning, and then gets Leyritz to open the 8th.
well, look at this. He does not have to throw a strike to Mariano Duncan. I mean, he was all over the place, up with a fastball. Fouls it. That's a strike. Now he chases out of the strike zone. He did not throw strikes to Duncan. If he would have been able to take like Strawberry did, you know, we may have a different ball game. But it's easy to say that from up here. He went up there to get a base hit, so he was aggressive.
Jeter, 2 singles, a stolen base, and a ground out. His last time up, he stranded 2. The Yankees have left 10 men on base, including the bases loaded in the 7th. And 2 runners in both the 5th and the 6th. In right field, Tarasco going back to the track, to the wall. And what happens here? He contends that a fan reaches up and touches it. But Richie Garcia says no, it's a home run. Here comes Davey Johnson out to argue as Jeter comes across to tie the game. Well, in postseason, you have an umpire down each line.
And he was there.
And Garcia was right there. The pitcher, Benitez, comes all the way out from the mound to argue.
But I don't know how he can tell from the mound.
I don't either. And I'll tell you one thing. That's great hustle. Great hustle by Richie Garcia.
Right.
The contention by Tarasco is that the ball is descending and the fan touches it. He's right. He's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That ball was not in the seats. It's okay to catch it if it's over the wall, but if it's in the playing field, then it's not allowed. You're not allowed to touch it. And you can see that ball is touched right there. Nice catch by the kid. But you see right away, Tarasco is pointing. I had the ball. I had the ball. I thought he was camped under it. See, he's nonchalant right there like he's going to catch it. And the kid, nice. Man, they need to sign him up. Oh, he didn't catch it. Just brought it in.
Yeah. You're right, Joe.
I mean, look at this. He just reaches out. I mean, he is at least
he's way out.
a foot onto the field.
Oh, he's way out.
And he makes the catch.
Oh, wow.
The way Tarasco was playing the ball, I'm not 100% sure he would have caught it. It might have hit off the top of the wall before he caught it, but there's no way it was going out. Either he was going to catch it or it was going to hit the top of the fence for an extra base hit. It was not going to be a home run.
I believe he was going to catch it, Bob, because he didn't jump. He was stationary. If it was going to be over his glove, I think he would have been at a jump. See, watch, he's not going to jump. See, that ball's coming down. It's coming down. It's not going out. It was coming down. I think he would have caught the ball.
He catches that ball. Absolutely.
Well, I think if you're Davey Johnson, you have to get thrown out of the ball game right here. I mean, I know it's tough to do, but you have to make a point of saying, I can't let this happen to my ball club, especially on the road.
Well, if he goes down in the clubhouse and sees the replay on this thing, he may be out here again.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to be livid.
Well, I think he is sure, because I think he saw how Tarasco went after the ball. He was not under any duress. He wasn't about to jump. He looked like he was stationary and about to reach up and catch the ball, and I think that's what Davey's going on.
Meanwhile, here's the kid receiving congratulations all around. He's affected possibly the outcome of the game. Certainly he's affected the course of the game.
And maybe the series, Bob. Maybe the championship series. Well, Davey Johnson's got a legitimate gripe here. You know what? And again, going back to what I said before about Richie Garcia, you got to give him credit. He hustled all the way out there. He was right there at the wall. He was at the fence. But when that ball came down, it was clearly caught inside the park.
But that is a tough call to make when you're on the run.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have an opportunity to sit here and watch the kid reach out. But when you're running out there, as Richie was, trying to get in position, it's difficult to see. But again, I mean, it's just one of those plays. See, Tarasco's still moving back, so you know Garcia has to be on the run. He's trying to get out there as well. See, he's waiting for it right there, and that ball is taken right over the fence.
And probably Garcia, Joe, with a head-on look. With a head-on look, instead of being at the wall where he could look across and see the fan actually reach out, looked at it straight on and thought that it was a home run.
So Jeter drives it to the opposite field. Tarasco all the way back to the fence. And as he prepares to make the play, the youngster reaches out with the glove and pulls it into the stands. If Garcia saw it that way, he's empowered to call the hitter out if he thought Tarasco would make the play.
We'll get one more look at this. Here's the angle that Richie Garcia was looking at right here. This is what I talked about a moment ago. He was looking straight on, just like we are, and may have thought that ball hit the top of the wall, Joe, or that the glove was not extended over the wall itself, and called it the home run. He was right there. Tony Tarasco is livid. Richie Garcia was right there.
Tie game at 4, and now Raines with a shot to right that could be extra bases. He's around first. Tarasco from the track with a good play to hold Raines, who still runs well, to a single.
You're right, Timmy Raines still runs well, but talking to him before the game, he said he still has a slight problem with his right hamstring, because in this type of a ball game, I think Timmy Raines would have tried to stretch that into a double.
The Orioles are playing the game under protest. But a protest never is upheld in a situation like this. It's a judgment call situation.
Yeah.
You have to blow a rule for a protest to have any chance of being upheld.
Yeah, you can't protest a judgment call. You can't win that. That's a judgment call.
If Tarasco, for the sake of argument, had jumped over the fence and reached out and a fan had interfered and battled him for the ball, that ball's live. He doesn't have any call for an interference call there. If a first baseman or third baseman or catcher reaches into the crowd on a foul ball, then it's kind of a jump ball situation. But when the ball is in the field of play and the fan reaches over, and if the umpire sees it that way, he can call the hitter out if he feels the play would have been made without the interference.
You see, that's Brady Anderson and Tarasco. Brady was looking at an angle, and Tarasco is saying to him, look, I had the ball. I was going to catch it. I mean, it's just one of those plays.
Al, it's not the first time we've seen it happen, and it's not going to be the last. Unfortunate, but it's a run. It's a home run.
Pat Dobson, the Orioles pitching coach, went out there with the two left-handers, Arthur Rhodes and Randy Myers, warming up in the pen.
Armando Benitez got out there before Davey Johnson did. He was flying.
So now the hitter is Boggs, who's 0 for 3 with a walk. Rains at first. The tying run home on the disputed home run by Jeter. And a strike to Boggs. 1 out. Bottom of the 8th. The Yankees with single runs in the 7th. And then 1 here in the 8th. To tie it at 4 apiece. Neither Erickson nor Pettit will be involved in the decision now.
And this has been a trademark of the Yankees during these playoffs, scoring late in the ball game against the opposition's bullpens.
Andy Etchebarren, one of the coaches, the former Oriole catcher, is managing the team now, with Johnson having been ejected. And I would imagine by now Johnson has been at least told by several people who saw the replay that he had a heck of a case.
John Stearns there, former Mets player.
Rains at first, with the count now 2-1 to Boggs. Stole 10 bases in limited duty this year. He missed several months with 2 bad hamstrings. He's 4th on the all-time stolen base list, behind Ricky Henderson, Lou Brock, and Ty Cobb. Fouled off 2-2.
You watch Boggs hit here, Joe, and we've talked about him probably with a back problem. The Oriole outfield is shifted way around toward left field. You got a guy out there who's throwing 90 plus, and yet Boggs is still pulling out. You see him pull out a little bit on that last fastball. I mean, he can drive a ball to left. I don't think he can pull this guy, but it looked like he's pulling out as he goes to start his swing. He's pulling that front foot out.
And I think, again, part of that is probably because of his back. You know, he's trying to help get the bat through the zone, but he's using his body to do it.
Bernie Williams is on deck. The 2-2 pitch with Rains going. A bouncer up the middle. Alomar misses Rains, throws to first, and gets Boggs.
That is a great play by Tim Raines, to have the presence of mind to be able to avoid a tag. He's on his way to steal the bag, and he runs right into Alomar. See, he's stealing the bag. He's not even watching the ball. He looks up, he sees where it is. Now he's able to avoid the tag by Alomar. Alomar quickly throws to first base to retire Boggs. I mean, this is a great play here by Tim Raines, and it was going to be a great play by Roberto Alomar. But Tim Raines makes a better play, and now they have a go-ahead run at second base.
How about the what-ifs, Joe? If he's not running, that's a base hit for Boggs. You might have runners at first and third.
First base open now, and Williams will be walked intentionally.
Well, the scouts watch Williams against Texas, and they say we're not going to let him beat us. And that's what Baltimore has decided to do in this situation.
And, of course, they have the 2 left-handers warming up down there. Williams is a switch hitter. Martinez, who's next, a left-handed batter. Myers was up a moment ago. Then he sat down, replaced by the right-hander Terry Matthews. The lefty is Arthur Rhodes.
Well, Randy Myers was up because they had a lead going into the 8th, and he thought he would finish the 9th if they still had the lead. He is their closer.
Now Andy Etchebarren goes to the mound. Andy Etchebarren caught Dave McNally 30 years ago today when McNally outdueled Drysdale 1-0, and the Orioles completed a sweep of the Dodgers in the World Series on a Frank Robinson homer. He goes to his pen. This game is tied in the 8th as a result of a bizarre and controversial play where a young fan reached over the fence and took the catch away from Tony Tarasco. It was ruled a home run. It appeared that Rich Garcia missed the call. Jim Gray hustles out into the lower right field stands and finds the kid. Here's Jim.
All right, we're out here in the outfield. Can you tell us what you did? What's your name, son?
Jeff Mayer.
Jeff, you stuck your mitt over, caught the ball. It's the difference in the game right now.
Wow, it's pretty unbelievable, and I didn't think it would ever happen to me.
You didn't get to keep the ball. You lost the ball, didn't you?
Yes, unfortunately.
What's going through your mind right now? You're the hero of all of New York and to the Yankees. You weren't even involved in the game. Now all of a sudden you've had such a big impact.
It's just unbelievable, and I feel like just like something amazing has happened. I can't really think of anything much else to say.
They're chanting your name. Pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, let's go back to Bob Costas.
Well, that's one perspective. But Jeff Mayer, even if he were of age, certainly couldn't be elected mayor of Baltimore right now. He's an innocent kid who is excited to reach out and have a chance to catch a baseball at a big league game. Looks like he's 12, maybe 13 years old. You can't blame him individually, but you don't want fans involved in affecting the outcome of the game. And what happened was very unfair to the Baltimore Orioles.
Absolutely, Bob. I mean, there's that announcement made prior to every game. Anyone interfering with a batted or thrown ball will be ejected from the ballpark. I mean, it happens day in and day out. And you know, one of the parks that you see it happen more often than not in is Baltimore, with that little fence in left.
All right, here comes Arthur Rhodes. 9-1 record for the year. He faces Tino Martinez and starts him with a ball. The last time up, Martinez batted against Jesse Orozco, a left-hander brought in specifically to face him, and he struck out. He's 1 for 4 today. Hasn't had much success so far in the postseason. In there for a strike. 1-1. 2 out, 2 on. Raines is at second. Williams, who was walked intentionally to set up this situation, is at first. A run home on the homer by Jeter. A homer that probably shouldn't have been. And this ball is hit into right field with Tarasco in pursuit. And he stumbles a little bit before making the catch. This is Tarasco's first inning in the game, and an inning he won't soon forget. We go to the 9th. Tied at 4 at Yankee Stadium. Tony Tarasco letting all of his buddies in the dugout know exactly what happened. Young Mr. Mayer reached over and changed the course of events. I was all set to catch it, says Tony, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Well, if something like this happened at the Boston Gardens, they would say, you know, it was the luck of the Irish, or the little F, or
the little leprechaun.
Leprechaun, yeah, the little leprechaun did it.
Well, you know, out of concern for how they might react to Alomar and to a lesser extent Bonilla, they kept warning the New York fans not to throw things. They didn't tell them not to catch things. So now Wetland comes out of the bullpen with the game tied at 4 in the 9th. And Parent swings and misses. Does it surprise you that it's Wetland here rather than Rivera, Joe?
Yes, it does me, because he's used Rivera first and then Wetland second. And I think maybe that tells us that he's not going to use Rivera today. Maybe he's planning on Wetland going this 1 inning. If they do not score in the bottom, maybe he'll go to someone else, because you could bring Rivera in, use him for a couple of innings, you still have Wetland left. So I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking right now.
1-1. Wetland had 4 walks in 4+ innings pitched against Texas in the division series, but generally was effective. Very ineffective last year against Seattle in the playoffs, but he's shaken that off. Came back this year with 43 saves.
How about the job that David Weathers did in that series in Texas, Bob, in that final game? I mean, came in a jam and pitched 3 solid innings. 3 great innings.
Wetland ahead of Parent 1-2. Well, I would call that a less than impressive swing, and Parent goes down.
I have no idea what Bernie Parent was looking for here. That fastball is about 6 feet in the air.
Well, actually, he swung at it like Bernie Parent, the goaltender, but this is Mark Parent, the catcher, who can't catch up with it.
I beg your pardon.
That would be Bernie Parent, but close enough, you know? That must have been what you were thinking, right?
Well, each of us had one, Parents.
And some were prouder than others.
That's right.
Well, here's Anderson in a tie game against Wetland.
He couldn't have hit that with a goalie stick.
Bob, maybe because they no longer have the off day, he's changing his pattern with Rivera and Wetland.
Brady Anderson, 50 homers for the year. 1 today, 3 in the postseason already. A ball and a strike.
Another point, Bob. Wetland was warming in the 8th in case they scored. Maybe he just brought him on in simply because he was already warm.
Yankee starters so-so in the playoffs, if that. Relievers, fantastic. 2-1. Now Randy Myers is throwing in the Baltimore bullpen, along with the right-hander Terry Matthews. Pop to the left side. Jeter out from shortstop. Reigns in from left. And it falls between them. It falls between them, and Anderson is in at second.
Oh, man.
Oh, that can't happen. Not in a playoff game.
Well, Jeter called the ball. He called it maybe a little too quickly, but Reigns, being the outfielder, if you can catch it, you're supposed to come and get it. Now watch right here. You'll see Jeter go. Now watch, he looks back, sees Reigns not there. Now he calls it. Now he starts to call it, seeing Reigns thinks he's going to catch it, and he gives up. But it's the outfielder's ball if he can make the catch. Reigns is supposed to continue on in and get it. They stop, and it drops right between them. Good hustle by Anderson. You see him running the ball out, and he sees it drop, and now he's at second base.
Wow, what a big play.
There have been some strange doings in this game.
Well, Surhoff in the opening inning lost a fly ball in the air that went for a double in left field. And here a ball that should have been caught by either Jeter or Reigns drops for a double.
Todd Zeile, who had 99 RBIs this year between the Phillies and the Orioles, but who has struggled of late at the plate in an RBI spot in the 9th. He's 0 for 4 in this game. .217 as you see in the postseason. Fastball high 1-1, and he closed the season just 1 for his last 30. And look who's on deck. He can't seem to avoid the middle of things. It's Alomar. Making Leyritz's glove pop. You can hear it all the way up here, but it misses 2-1. Between Benitez and Rhodes for the Orioles, and Myers still occasionally, and Wetland and Rivera for the Yankees. Some hard throwers out of these bullpens. Zeile lifts one to left center field. Bernie Williams back. Calling shy of the track for the catch. That's the second out. Anderson back to second. The last game the Orioles played, Alomar tied it with a single in the 9th. Won it with a homer in the 12th. Both off Jose Mesa. Faces Wetland. And takes ball 1. First base open, but Palmeiro on deck. 2 balls and no strikes. The situation with John Hirschbeck was not the first time that Roberto Alomar had a run-in with an umpire. The guy down the right field line, Richie Garcia, involved in controversy today, was in the middle of something a year ago with Alomar when Roberto threw his glove at him from the dugout. Wound up serving a 1-game suspension for that. 3-0.
Well, I think Wetland is overthrowing here because he knows that he can't give in to Alomar and give him a fastball in the middle of the plate. But you definitely do not want to face Rafael Palmeiro unless you have to.
Alomar thought he had the walk, but Larry Barnett calls it a strike.
The other thing with Alomar, Joe, you know, he's not embarrassed at all to go the other way from time to time. When you keep throwing him out there, he'll go that way. He'll go the opposite field on you. Last fastball right on the corner.
Cuts and misses, and the count is full.
Now here's the situation where you might see Wetland go to that splitter, the breaking ball, taking Alomar 3-2.
Everyone on their feet at Yankee Stadium, and he strikes him out. Wetland fans 2 in the ninth. Yankees come up with a chance to win it. Derek Jeter talking about that mishap in shallow left when he and Tim Raines let a playable ball drop between them. Don Zimmer and Joe Torre listening intently.
But Don Zimmer is a former infielder, so he knows how the play is supposed to go. And it was not Jeter's fault.
Terry Matthews out of the bullpen. Acquired in August from Florida. Cecil Fielder, the first man to face him. Matthews has also been with Texas. He turned 32 4 days ago. Strawberry on deck. Well, the question, as the postseason began around New York, at least one of the questions, who should be the Yankee DH, Fielder or Strawberry? They're both coming up here in the ninth. 3-0. Obviously, this guy can end the game with one swing. Do you give him the green light?
No. And I'm sure Joe Torre will not, because they've manufactured runs over the course of the season, and they want to give themselves their best shot of winning this ball game.
The 3-0 pitch. Walked him on 4 pitches. And let's see if they bring in a pinch runner for Fielder.
Now, if you're going to play the way Joe Torre plays or has played baseball all year, you're going to see the pinch runner. Cecil Fielder thinks so.
Yeah. Hey, he hopes so. He went out and made a right turn. I guess so. He said, Joe, come get me.
And Andy Fox comes on. His role is pretty much restricted to pinch running duties.
Well, that's Raines talking to Zimmer, and Zimmer's probably said to him, it's your ball. If you can get it, come get it. And that's exactly what he's saying.
And especially with a veteran outfielder, Joe, it's his call.
Strawberry, who walked with the bases loaded, swings and misses.
You can't ask Strawberry to bunt because he's probably never bunted in his career. So he tries to end it with this big swing. He's just a little tardy on that. But remember, he hasn't played in about 8 days. So he has not had any at-bats against live pitching.
He was the starting DH in Game 1 of the division series. Stranded 4 runners, and then they went to Fielder, who came through. And Torre just stuck with Fielder. Duncan on deck. Bottom of the ninth, 4-4 game. The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike to Strawberry. Fox pinch running for Cecil Fielder, who opened the inning with a walk. is at first. Two balls and a strike.
Jeter and Raines were talking about the play, and he's saying, Raines again is saying, hey, don't worry about it. I'll take it from now on.
Matthews to Strawberry. Fox running. Strawberry with a fly ball to left center field. Back goes Anderson. The ball carrying Anderson to the track. Makes the catch, and Fox back to first.
He just missed that ball. I mean, he got it up so high that he got a little wind help, but he was just a little tardy on it. If he could have gotten around on that ball, it's out of here. Now watch, you'll see his bat just a little late right there. He gets under it, but he's still not sure because he's so strong and he knows he doesn't have to get all of it. Brady Anderson on the run. This is a fine play. He takes a peek over to make sure that he's by himself, and he makes the play because Deveraux was coming into the play as well.
399 feet to the wall in left center. Not nearly as far as it used to be, but still more room than in most parks. Now Duncan. Fox was running on that last pitch to Strawberry.
Duncan is a good guy to hit and run on, so if you can get the count in your favor where you want it, you can go ahead and try to put Fox in motion because you need a hit and run to try to get the runner over to third with less than 2 outs.
Duncan fouls it off.
Well, I tell you, if it's close with this guy, he's hacking, isn't he? That's what I like about him, Joe. I mean, he's not one of these guys that's going to go up there and take. If it's close, he's hacking. If he can move a guy, he's going to try to move him. He doesn't do it all the time, but if he can take a shot to right field, he does.
And he hit 340 during the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like too many baseball players to count, Mariano Duncan is from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic.
And their standard line is you can't walk off that island. You got to hit your way off.
Yeah. Boy, would I be stuck.
You'd be as stranded as Gilligan and his pals.
Jeez.
You'd be dropping a note in a bottle for the rest of your life.
I didn't even make the school bus. Oh.
Matthews 0-1 pitch coming to Duncan. In the air to right. Tarasco over toward the line into foul ground, leaping. And now he complains again that a fan touches it. And I doubt that he's going to get any satisfaction this time.
Richie Garcia's having his problems tonight. Bob, he started pointing right away, though. When Tarasco gets to this area, Richie Garcia is already pointing that ball is in the stand. Again, that's a close play again. I'll tell you what, he may have had a chance to catch that one too.
Tarasco has packed a whole series worth of excitement into a couple of innings since entering the game.
This is going to be a very short argument. Andy Etchebarren. Andy Etchebarren, who is taken over for Davey Johnson, who was ejected. And hopefully you just didn't join us. Controversial home run call. Andy Etchebarren now asking for an explanation. Why? And again, it looks like Tarasco had a chance to catch this ball. Richie Garcia, again, is right there. He's right on the line. There you see it. I'll tell you what, that ball probably was in the park again
Well, the question here, though, is did anyone actually touch it? Did any fan actually touch it?
Oh, I think they touched it.
See, I'm not sure they touched it, so it's very difficult to make that call. I mean, I know they were reaching for it.
I think it's that mayor's cousin.
The count is 0-2, and Duncan gets plumped.
Well, that's what you call taking one for the team. That's not a bad time to take it.
Not at all.
No balls and 2 strikes. Now you move the winning run into scoring position. All Duncan does is he can't get out of the way. He just turns his back, and he takes this one in the back. Watch, he just turns and gets him right in the back. But
Terry Matthews on the 0-2 pitch in the 9th inning, the last thing he had in mind. I mean, not even thinking about moving him off the plate. It just gets away.
Well, Duncan a couple of times, Bob, has taken pitches outside or around the outside corner and driven him into right field. And I mean, you're trying to keep him honest. I know you don't want to go in that tight, but you're trying to keep him honest. It got him, it looks like, in the back of the bicep. And trying to keep him honest, you got to come inside. He just came in too far.
Well, now as they tend to Duncan, Matthews thinking, what a fine mess I've gotten myself into. First by walking Fielder on 4 pitches. And then after Strawberry flies out, he hits Duncan with the 0-2 pitch. Mike Aldretti, just activated for this series, veteran left-handed pinch hitter, has been announced for the Yanks, and Myers is coming on for the Orioles. Joe Torre with his right-hand man, Popeye, Don Zimmer.
And Don Zimmer's always talking to Joe Torre about moves he should make. And Joe listens to him quite honestly. They talk about it, and then they make a move.
Well, they knew that if they sent Aldretti up, in all likelihood, Matthews would be removed, and Etchebarren, now managing since Davey Johnson was ejected, would go to the veteran left-hander Myers. In anticipation of that, they bring Girardi off the bench, which accomplishes 2 things. They get the right-handed bat in there, and if they don't win it here and the game is prolonged, Girardi stays in to catch, since this was Leyritz's spot originally in the order.
But the one thing to remember, you start running out of players, and if this ball game goes in the extra innings and you're out of players, it could hurt you later on.
Well, the Yankees have only Luis Sojo left on the bench right now.
He becomes their next catcher if something happens to Girardi.
The only plus is that Myers has been a little erratic.
Girardi at the plate against Myers, 4 for 11, lifetime against him. A line drive caught by Ripken. A flip into Alomar behind for the double play. Fox with a pinch runner's nightmare. He's doubled off on the line drive DP. Extra innings in the Bronx.
Well, the Yankees came close to ending this ball game. Girardi hits a line drive, but Ripken positioned well, takes 2 steps, and that 6'5" frame helps him there. He turns, and Roberto Alomar is there. Let's take another look at it. Now watch, if he's not so tall, they talk about him being too tall to be a shortstop. This helps him in this situation. And just a nice play by he and Alomar together. Now watch, what was the runner doing all this time? Now watch, he's trying to score the winning run, but what he does, he crosses his feet. Once you do that right there, you're in trouble. You got to start sliding backwards, not crossing over, and he wasn't able to get back in time. But it's hard to fault him because he wants to score the winning run on that base hit, and it was a nice play made by Ripken.
You're right, Joe. I mean, it's one of those plays where you're caught in between, and you may not score anyway, even if the ball goes through, because you do have to hold up.
Well, Mariano Rivera comes on. The first man he faces is Rafael Palmeiro, a homer, a single, and 2 walks. In 107 2/3 innings of work out of the Yankee bullpen this year, Mariano Rivera, in this, the year of the home run, especially in the American League, allowed only 1 home run. But this is the guy who hit it, Rafael Palmeiro.
Well, I guarantee he tried to get a fastball by him on the inside, and you can't do that. You see they're staying away right now.
And he whistles it through the middle for a leadoff hit. The Orioles are about the only team that had much success at all this year against Rivera. Against Baltimore this year, he's 1-2. That's 2 of his 3 losses for the year with an ERA of almost 6. Against the rest of the American League, he's 7-1 with an ERA of 1.7.
Now here's that last fastball from Rivera, and Palmeiro laced it right back through the middle. Tell you what, if he gets any elevation on this thing, he might have really done something with it because he hit it awfully hard.
Well, now the hitter is Tony Tarasco. For the first time, he's in Bobby Bonilla's spot in the order. Let's see if they look to sacrifice. The Orioles are the only team in the American League that twice scored more than one run in a game off Mariano Rivera.
The tough thing about Rivera is not easy to bunt his pitches.
Tarasco squares and takes a strike. Apparently, Joe Torre's thinking in reversing the usual order and in a tie game, usually bring Wetland in with the lead, is that if the game was to be prolonged, Rivera could pitch 2 or 3 innings more readily than Wetland. So we went to Wetland in the 9th, hoping the Yankees could win it in the bottom half. They threatened to do so, but weren't able to push the run across. And now it's Rivera for who knows how long. Squaring again and bunting it foul. 0-2.
One thing you've got to do against a guy like Rivera, or any hard thrower, I mean, if you're going to sacrifice, everybody in the ballpark has to know it. You got to square yourself up and make sure you're turned around, and which he seems like he does there. But you notice the angle of the bat is back toward the on-deck circle instead of squared around.
Ripken is on deck. Palmeiro, who's 3 for 3 with 2 walks, is at first. Top half of the 10th, tied at 4. Each team has 9 hits. The Yankees have left 13 men on base. The Orioles have stranded 8. And a called strike 3.
When a guy throws as hard as Rivera does, you do not expect him to paint the outside corner with a fastball. I mean, this is a perfect pitch right on the outside corner. And when the guy's throwing as hard as he does, you expect him to try to get the ball in the middle of the plate. That's not in the middle of the plate. It's out there. Watch where this pitch is. Right out there on the corner. Even though you see Girardi try to pull it in a little bit more, right out there on the edge.
Looked like Tarasco thought that ball might have been a little high, Joe, too.
And there's a ball to Ripken. Doubled, struck out, singled, grounded out. One on, one out in the 10th. Mariano Rivera, not technically the closer. It was Wetland who had 43 saves. He will get Cy Young votes, and he will get MVP votes as well.
And he deserves some votes for each.
Foul back. A lot of people thought it was an outrage when he did not make the All-Star team. In this era in baseball, when there are so few complete games thrown, and where closers generally work only the 9th and only with a lead, postseason may be an exception, as witnessed Wetland in this ball game, to have a great setup man, not really a middleman. We're not talking about mop-up innings. We're talking about a setup man who can get you to where you can put the clincher on the win in the 9th is so important. And the Yankees have the best combination in baseball in Rivera and Wetland. Pop back and out of play. There are only a handful of closers as good as Wetland, and none of those closers have a setup man like Rivera.
Well, the other thing, too, Bob, when Wetland went on the DL at the end of the season, or prior to the end of the year, and Joe Torre stuck this guy in the closer's role, he was dominating there, too.
Roberto Alomar lounging in the dugout in an otherwise tense situation. Zeal and Anderson. Wonder where Davey Johnson is watching this from.
From the tunnel.
From the tunnel where he can shout instructions to Etchebarren?
Absolutely.
Or from the clubhouse where he can enjoy your commentary, Uke?
Well, he may be in the clubhouse shouting loud enough where Etchebarren can hear him from there, too.
The 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Mariano Rivera is 26 years old. He's from Panama City, Panama. And there aren't many who throw as hard as he does. Lots of guys can get it up over 90. He's around 96, 97, at least for an inning or two at a time. He jams Ripken, a little pop, wide of third. Boggs and Girardi have no play.
And you can see they made a conscious effort to throw his fastball inside to Ripken. Now watch the setup. You'll watch where Girardi goes. Watch, he sets up inside and he gets the fastball inside. Ripken able to foul it off. And again, on the inside part of the plate, off the plate inside actually, but Ripken swings at it because he has 2 strikes.
Eddie Murray will be next. And a pop on the right side. Martinez and Duncan. Martinez, the first baseman, for the second out. The Orioles 4 and the Yankees 4 as Baltimore bats in the 10th. Rafael Palmeiro at first with 2 out. And the hitter is Eddie Murray, who's 0 for 3 with a walk.
These are great matchups. I mean, when you've got a guy like Rivera, you're blessed to have this kind of a guy on your staff who can just reach back. Everybody in the ballpark, including the hitter, knows he's coming with heat. You're sitting on heat, and he still throws it by you. And again, Joe, we've seen this guy do it many times before. Eddie Murray, if he looks for one and gets it in the right zone, it's a problem.
But he's behind Rivera 0-2. Palmeiro doesn't steal many, but he picks his spots well. 9 for 9 this year. The 0-2 to Murray. Misses. Or maybe he didn't miss. Maybe that's exactly where he wanted to throw it and see if Eddie would chase it on 0-2.
I think this is a waste pitch, and you can see it's far outside. But I think if he wants to get Eddie out, he can a high fastball up a little bit, and Eddie seems to chase that pitch more now than ever before. That one right there. This one's not quite as high as he wanted it. You can see the glove. It's up there, but probably 2 or 3 inches lower than he actually wanted it to be. But when you're throwing 90+ miles an hour from 60 feet 6 inches, you only miss by 2 inches. Pretty good job.
Pat on the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another 1-2 pitch and a check swing foul this time.
Again, Mariano Rivera up and in on Murray. That may have been a strike if he doesn't go after it. That may have been a strikeout pitch. Check swing foul.
Once again, the slender right-hander works on 1 and 2. But first he'll chase Palmeiro back.
And you can see Eddie Murray calling timeout, timeout. And home plate umpire was Larry Barnett was going to give it to him. Now watch Eddie. He's yelling timeout, timeout. He doesn't want that pitch. Very dangerous to try to do that with 2 strikes because you only request timeout. If the umpire doesn't want to give it to you, you're in trouble.
Two and 2. October baseball. It's different. 2-2 pitch lined into center. There's a base hit. Stopping at second is Palmeiro. This is one of the great clutch hitters of all time.
You're right.
Eddie Murray.
He fights off the tough pitches, the high fastballs. Now he gets one that's down a little bit. So if you get it down, he can still handle that fastball, that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. It's up that he has the problems. And he fought off the high ones, the tough ones, and got the one that he could handle.
It was a heck of an at-bat.
You're right.
Down 0-2 and seemingly unable to catch up with the heat, and he just hangs with it and gets a pitch he can handle and delivers the 2-out hit.
You don't have 3,000-plus hits and 500 home runs not knowing what you're doing in the batter's box.
Devereaux for his first at-bat replaced Surhoff in left. And as many fans know, only 2 other players can make that claim. 3,000-plus hits, 500-plus home runs. 2 of the greatest in history, Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. And while Eddie Murray isn't quite in their class, he is bound for the Hall of Fame. Devereaux fouls it back.
Here's another guy came into the game as a defensive replacement, coming up here for the first time to hit, Joe, and you're going up against a guy like Rivera who's throwing that 90-plus on you.
Devereaux's a pretty good fastball hitter. He doesn't handle the breaking ball real well, but he can handle some fastballs.
A ball and a strike. Devereaux last year was with the world champion Atlanta Braves. In fact, if memory serves, well, there it is. I don't have to rely on memory. He was the surprise MVP of the NLCS against Cincinnati. Couldn't catch up with that.
From a hitter's perspective, you have to say in your own mind, if the ball starts this high, I can't swing at it. You have to have a zone because you can't hit that high fastball.
You got to turn that dial up a notch or two when you see a fastball like that. The 1-2 pitch. And he spoils it.
Hey, you can swing balsa would not catch up to some of those fastballs.
This game is now exactly 4 hours old. These 2 clubs have played some marathons this year. The first game they played against each other, April 30th in Baltimore, was the longest 9-inning game in Major League history. 4 hours and 21 minutes, and the Yankees won 13-10. Andy Pettitte was the starter in that game, one of his worst outings ever. Gave up 9 runs in barely more than an inning. Wasn't involved in the decision. They brought him back the next day for 3 innings of relief, and he got the victory in a 15-inning game the next night. So marathons between these 2 clubs are nothing new.
That's Jose Cardinal talking to him. Telling him you did a good job.
Seems a long time ago now. A check swing foul, and it holds at 1-2. The starters were Pettitte and Erickson. Pettitte was so-so. Erickson was very effective. Neither will be involved in the decision, obviously. We're in the 10th, tied at 4. Andy Etchebarren is managing this club now. Davey Johnson was tossed on a bizarre play, a disputed call in right field. A bouncing ball to the right side. Duncan from the outfield grass gets Devereaux to the bottom of the 10th. The 4-all tie preserved. Derek Jeter's 3 for 4, and here's the reason why. We're in extra innings with 1 out in the 8th. A drive to the opposite field. Tony Tarasco just in the game for Bobby Bonilla in right. Thinks he's going to catch it, and a young fan reaches out and sort of scoops it back into the stands. But Richie Garcia, the right field umpire, didn't see it that way. Called it a home run. Could have called interference.
You know, Bob, when you see that play in regular speed, it's not as easy to call.
It never is.
Right, but I mean, that's a good. I mean, that so it wasn't as easy as it looked. Appeared on slow motion.
Jeter 2 singles, the homer, and a stolen base. Watch it now in slow motion.
Even the glove that youngster's wearing, I think he's got a black glove on. And it's really hard to see. Well, there he is. Yeah, he did have a black glove on, but he stuck his arm out 2 feet over the fence to make the grab.
1-1 pitch from Randy Myers. A bouncing ball which Alomar dives to stop, but he has no play, and there's Jeter's 4th hit.
Well, Alomar is playing Jeter towards right field, so he has a long way to go. This ball's not really up the middle, it's just right center, but he was playing him so far around that he had no chance of getting Jeter. Once he goes to his right, see how far he was over toward right field. He makes a dive, stops it, but the speedy Jeter beats it out easily. Nice play again by Alomar, but I think the positioning, he was just a little bit too far toward right field.
Now Raines, who's 2 for 5.
I think he will definitely be up there bunting.
Squares, bunts foul. Willie Randolph, the coach at third, flashing the signs. Joe Torre always outwardly calm, but you know he's churning inside. What a fabulous job he's done with this team. That's a called strike. 0-2. Now is the bunt removed.
That was a smart pitch there by Randy Myers. He felt like Raines was looking for a fastball, so he throws him a curveball. And it starts up, and you do not want to bunt a pitch that's up. Now watch, it starts up. Tim goes up after it, and then he realizes it's a breaking ball, and it's strike 2. I think you take the bunt off.
I agree with you, Joe.
Raines is a pretty good hitter. We saw in the Texas series. He can get, clutch base hits. It was he and Jeter in the Texas series, and they got him going there in the late innings.
Zeal is still on the grass at third. The 0-2 pitch is bounced to Zeal. He flags it down, pegs to Alomar on to first. Palmeiro stays on the bag for the double play. Torre's going to argue that Palmeiro was off the bag.
And he may have a pretty good argument.
That happens a lot of times. There are a lot of first basemen. I don't think they're on the bag when they catch the ball. And if you do it that way all the time, nobody ever checks it. Nobody ever bothers. Here it is again. Little bouncer to Zeal at third. The force at second. Plenty of time there for Jeter. And Alomar's throw nails Raines, and let's see if Palmeiro came off the bag. May have, couldn't see from that angle if he held the bag or not. He looked like he had it.
And a strike to Boggs, who hit .311 for the year, but just over .260 against left-handed pitching, and had only 7 extra base hits against southpaws all season.
Well, when you have a guy up there like Raines, Joe, who fundamentally does things pretty well, and fails to sacrifice in a situation like this, you're in the 10th inning, you get the leadoff guy on, and it's a must. You've got to get him over. And he missed one sacrifice bunt attempt, and then took a breaking ball for a strike on the outside, and then goes out on the ground out.
Well, I'm wondering if he was questioning about his leg, because Tim runs pretty well, and he was wondering maybe if he wasn't running full speed down the line, and therefore if he can't run, he needs to come out of the ball game. But I've seen several times this year where Raines has dropped down a bunt, in that situation to move the runner along. And then I also saw one game where he beat it out for a base hit and Wade Boggs bunted. So they've been doing this the entire season, so I don't think there's anything unusual about being asked to bunt, especially in this type of situation.
Oh, no, not that he was asked to bunt, but he took the breaking ball for a strike in his second attempt to try and bunt.
Right.
And now Boggs will be 0 for his last 16 since opening the postseason with a double against Texas. He's hitless, including 0 for 5 with a walk this afternoon and into the night. On to the 11th, tied at 4. We go to the 11th, and the Goodyear blimp still hovers above. Captained by Richard Daniels, and we thank all of them for their efforts. Upstairs, he and his crew And a swing and a miss by Mark Parent.
My ride to Baltimore tomorrow night. I'm going. Where do they put that thing down around here? Do you know? I'm sure it's going to be easy to see.
I guarantee you they don't land it at LaGuardia. Parent, the catcher, starting the 11th. He's 1 for 4 for the afternoon and evening. And down he goes.
I got to tell you something. He struck out back in the 9th on a fastball about helmet high. Girardi put the target up there again for Rivera. And Mark Parent chased it again. Here it is again. Watch this fastball. Right up around the bill of the cap. If you're looking fastball, why not go for it? That's what I say.
Well, you know, to catch up with Rivera, you have to start your swing so early that maybe you can't be so selective. He starts to crank it up when it leaves Rivera's hand.
See, I never would chase a pitch like that. I always thought it looked better to be called out on strikes.
And then argue.
Yeah, and then you say,
yeah.
You walk by the umpire, you argue a little bit, and you walk by the umpire and you whisper, nice call.
Brady Anderson, homered earlier. 2-0 the count to him. He's 2 for 4. Plus a walk. Had that bloop double, which shouldn't have been. Jeter and Raines let it drop between them in the 9th. Sounded like a broken bat. Duncan takes care of Anderson, out number 2 in the 11th. Game 2 of this series, we know for sure, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time.
And we'll be here for it.
We may just be able to stay.
I have no problem with
Catch a quick nap when this one's over and right back out here. Todd Zeile, 2 out, nobody on.
A little change of undergarments, no problem. You change with Joe, I'll change with you.
You know, I think we're getting a bit too much information here. I'm not so sure America craves this info. That's out of play. Obviously, Joe, you have to play it in the postseason differently than in the middle of the season. But now, especially without an off day. Right. If this game goes 14, 15 innings, and who knows how many innings Torrey lets Rivera pitch, then maybe he's not available tomorrow. Changes a lot of things strategically.
Well, I think the longer this game goes, the more it helps Baltimore in the future. And the fact that the off day was rained out tomorrow also helps them, because, again, you know, if you use Rivera today, you can't use him. You're not going to have any off days to rest him.
Zeile hangs in on 1 and 2. Rocky Coppinger, the rookie, who's supposed to be the number 4 starter, is now throwing in the bullpen. And when you get to this stage of the game, for 2 reasons. 1, because obviously you used a lot of guys up already. But 2, because you want a long reliever or a starter who can stay in for an extended period. You start getting the guys like Coppinger. 2-2.
Rivera wanted that pitch. Girardi wanted that pitch, but he didn't get it because of the way he caught it. He caught the ball moving out of the strike zone.
Rivera seldom pitches more than 2 innings. If he gets Zeile or gets out of the inning in one fashion or another, that would be 2 innings. Myers, who rarely pitches more than 1 inning, has worked an inning and 2/3. Full count.
You know, Joe, a lot of times as a catcher, when you set the target, and if you leave the target there too long, especially with a guy like this who throws so hard, it makes you snatch at a ball.
Hit through the box and into center field for a 2-out single. Well, it was in the 12th that Alomar won Game 4 of the division series at Jacobs Field with a homer off Mesa. And a situation where, with the game on the line, Mike Hargrove had to let his closer just keep on going deep into the game, and eventually you lose a little something off those pitches. It's not quite to that point yet with Rivera, hoping to finish up his second inning. Alomar's 1 for 5. Just too much heat. 0-1.
Now, Bob, you talked about Rivera working here. As you look at Alomar take a hack at that last fastball, it may have been out of the strike zone. With 2 outs, Joe Torre has got activity in the bullpen. David Weathers is up out there.
Foul back 0-2. And Weathers, he's got a guy who could give him 3 innings if this turns into a marathon. Maybe more than that, but certainly he could pitch 3.
.36 pitches now for Rivera.
That is 0-2 to Roberto Alomar. Up and in 1-2. One thing that helps at least a little bit for both these teams, they both won in 4 rather than 5. And then with a rain out yesterday, not so much for the starters, but for the relievers, it's a couple of extra days without having to throw, at least not in competition. Two and 2, but now the first 5 games of this series will be played without an off day. Assuming there is no further foul weather, and assuming the series goes as far as 6, there would be an off day Monday for a trip back from Baltimore between games 5 and 6. Full count now.
You know, you're right in talking about Rivera here a moment ago, Joe. It looks like he may start to get tired now. He's starting to get upstairs a little bit on Alomar. Alomar chased a high fastball the first pitch he threw him, and now he's starting to really get upstairs.
The runner goes on the 3-2 pitch, and Alomar went around. It might have been out of the strike zone, but he couldn't stop himself. On to the bottom of the 11th. And it's Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, and Andy Fox, who occupies the DH spot after running for Cecil Fielder in the bottom of the 11th. Williams is 1 for 3. With a couple of walks thrown in, plus an RBI ground out. Switch hitter turned around to the right side against Myers. In case you're just joining us, as we noted earlier, this is Williams' power side. 2 of his 3 home runs in the division series were hit right-handed, and 16 of his 29 for the season were hit right-handed. And as you see, his batting average more than 100 points higher. And here's a drive to left. It's mighty high. It's mighty far. And good night.
It's a high breaking ball from Randy Myers. He goes up and gets it. And as soon as he hits it, he knows it's gone. This goes into the upper deck. So you see, he knows right away that this ball game is over. A high hanging breaking ball from Randy Myers. again, this ball's into the upper deck, so that's why he knew it was gone. Second deck, actually.
Well, his teammates react to his 4th home run in 5 postseason games. The Yankees come from behind and win it.